All right, so for today, because of the PSAT, we're just doing another first 20. This is not considered new material because it's a review. And we're doing problems 11 through 15 today off the first 20. And this ended up b to the 8th plus the second makes b to the 10th. At this point, after seeing that, how many of you feel like you are a 5 out of 5 at this point? All right, good. Then let's move on to the next one. This one is only hard because of the factoring. If you understand what you can factor here, would you please do it? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, then I'll show you. But factor this one if you know how. My favorite saying is, if you can factor it, you should. Because it really, really helps. All right, would you please raise your hand if you know that you factored 3 out of the top? Oh, okay, so then watch everybody, because only a couple people knew that. Do you see how they both have a 3 in them? If they both have a 3 in them, then that 3 can be factored out to the front. And there's a 3 on the bottom. You with me so far? There was a 3 here, there was a 3 here. And so I'm putting it in front. And then what would have to go on the inside? Negative 1 plus and minus root 2. Very good. All right. Now, I know only 1 or 2 people knew that. So let's see if you can do this. Next part. What's the final answer? Now that that's factored, isn't it pretty easy? What cancels now? The 3's. And then all you got to do is just write what you see there. Negative 1 plus and minus root 2. That's it. That's the answer. But what is that? Well, it's some weird decimal. Because the square root of 2 is some decimal that nobody's ever seen before. You might have seen the first few digits of it, but they've never actually ever seen it. That's kind of a weird concept for me. It's a number nobody's ever seen. Because it's a decimal, and you know the beginning of it is like 1.237 or whatever, but it goes on forever. Nobody's ever seen the end of it. They just know kind of about what it's equal to, and in fact, exactly what it is the square root of 2, but they don't know what the decimal is for it. It's weird to me. And then you take negative 1 and you'd add that weird decimal, and then you take negative 1 and you would subtract that weird decimal, and you get 2 answers. All right, these come up at the end of a quadratic formula problem. X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And you heard me say plus or minus square root. That's where that comes from, see? All right, let's see. Only 2 people knew how to do this a minute ago. Let's see if it's better now. Negative 6 plus or minus 3 square roots of 7 all over 3. Now first, don't cancel those 3's that you see. This is not a legal cancel. Now why? Because those 3's, one on the top, one on the bottom, the one on the top is part of an add or subtract problem. In fact, it's part of an add and subtract problem. So you can't do that. But you can factor the top, and then something will cancel. Everybody try to factor the top. You might be like, but I only see a 3. Well, a 6 has a 3 in it. So I'm really excited with this experiment of getting you guys all the way through and having you beat an honors class at the end of the year. I think we can do it. Your average score beats their average score on the top 20. We aren't even close to the top 20. We're still in the middle one. We're still on first 20. But we'll get there. And you're going to feel so much stronger in math. All right. Did you realize that this 6 was 3 times 2 and therefore had a buried 3 in it? And did you realize the 3 could be factored out? All right. Let's go with chi. What did you think went inside the parentheses then, between the plus and minus and the other end of it? So here and here. I'd think of it this way. Yes, good. You're doing it.
And square root of 7.
Yeah, that's it. How do I know he's right? Because if I multiply this back out, 3 times 2 makes the 6 that I had here. Oh, wait a minute. It makes a positive 6. So it should be negative 2. Yep, somebody said it. You're right. You were really close, though. And the way I checked you was to multiply it back out. That's what I would do if I were you. Just check it. If these are complicated, so check them. So then I go 3 times root 7, and that makes 3 root 7. Cool. It worked. Ryan, what was the whole point of factoring a 3 out? Something's going to happen now.
You can cancel it now based on the calculator.
You are correct. So the answer is negative 2 plus and minus the square root of 7. So there's 2 answers. Negative 2 plus the square root of 7 and negative 2 minus the square root of 7. How many of you got that one right? Ooh, we're up to like 3/4 of the class. One more, and hopefully we're rocking everybody in the class. Plus and minus the 2 square roots of 11 all over 4. Something can be factored out of the top. Pause for a second and give that a try. Keep going. You're doing well. 2 comes out, and then what do I have left in the parenthesis? That's it. What do you think I should do with the 4 on the bottom? I bet you didn't leave it alone.
Well, it can be made into 2 times 2.
2 times 2. Why is that smart?
And the 2's can cancel.
And the 2's can cancel. That cancels that. Final answer. 5 plus or minus the square root of 11 all over 2. Yep.
Was that 2 times 2 or 2 minus 2?
That's a 2 times 2. It's just a 4. That 4 there got replaced with a 2 times 2. So then those 2's canceled. There's just a 2 left on the bottom. 5 plus and minus the square root of 11 over 2 doesn't seem like an answer. It's not a normal answer. You're not used to that kind of answer. But that's called simplest radical form. Because the square root's called a radical. And we made it simpler. So it's simplest radical form. All right. This one, I think we're going to get almost everybody this time. 6 plus and minus 4 square roots of 3 all over 12. This is the hardest one I've given you, but I think you're a lot smarter than when I did it the first time and only knew 2 people knew what I was talking about. Pausing for a second. So the suggestion was I factor a 2 out of the top. So I take a 2 out and I put a parenthesis like this. And then logically, the bottom should probably get factored also, right? Let's take a 2 out of that, and that'd be 2 times 6. That's also called factoring. And this 12 here is now this 2 times 6. Okay, so now what goes in the parenthesis? Miss Canaan, what do you think should go in the parenthesis?
3 plus or minus 2 square root of 3.
That is it. Perfect. Now, how could she know she's right if she multiplied it back out? 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 2 is 4 root 3. Yay, I know it's right because it multiplies back to this. And then the 2's can cancel. And all that stuff, that's your answer. 3 plus and minus 2 root 3 all over 6. That is a complicated problem. And only 2 of you had a chance before I started. How many of you got it right just now? All right, we're up to 3/4 of you. Okay, Then let's go to the next one. Okay, we're on number 13. How many of you already knew that I split it into two things? Raise your hand if you were onto that. Okay, good. Then the two things it splits to is x plus 3 is 7, just like you see, you know, like all you do is drop the bars. And the other one is x plus 3 equals what? -7. And from here, they're just two simple little equations. You go -3, -3, -3, -3, and you get x equals 4 and x equals -10. There's my two answers, 4 and -10. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Okay, cool. Everybody seemed to know that one. That's great. This next one. It's only weird because it has a greater than sign. You treat these just like normal equations. You subtract 1 from both sides to start. Why don't you give it a shot and see what you get? I'll pause again and give it a try. All right, you should have said -2n greater than -6. Then you should have divided both sides by -2. And you should have said, therefore, the negative's gone. It's just n. Okay, n is who caught that we had to switch the sign around to less than. 4 of you. You had to switch that sign around. Why? Because I just divided by a negative. If you ever multiply or divide by a negative, the signs that used to be like a greater than now switch to a less than. Just goes back and forth. Okay, every time you multiply or divide by a negative. All right. Let's see if we can do another one without my help. Get it up to like 90% of you getting it right. -5n plus 2 is less than or equal to 12. Write that one down, please.
Subtract 2 from both sides.
Noah, what's the next step? Correct. N is, did you catch it? Nice. That's it. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Almost everybody, nice work. Okay, and the last melon. But it is the hardest one. I'm gonna bet that only one person knows how to solve this in the whole room. And I could be wrong, but that's my best guess. And that means I should let you have a chance first so that your brain establishes the need, like, yeah, I don't know how to do that. And then I can show you. Okay, so just make sure. Maybe you do know how to do it. I don't know. Anybody know how to do it? Ooh, what do you think's first then?
You combine the x squared and the x to get x cubed.
Nope, can't do that because it's a plus. If it had been a times, that would have been the right thing to do. This is a plus. Noah, what do you think is first?
Add 1 to both sides.
Oh, close. We have to set it equal to 0. So you're on the right track. We're going to add something or subtract something from both sides, but it's not +1. Subtract 2 from both sides. You are correct. X squared plus x minus 3 equals 0. So here's the key. On a quadratic, the things that are squared, are called quadratics. You want it to be equal to 0. And then if you can factor it, you should, but this problem is the exception. It doesn't factor. So what the heck do you do then? It's the formula that I told you about earlier this year, and I said, this is the biggest math formula you'll ever memorize. X equals, who knows what's next? Yes? Negative b, excellent. Plus or minus the, say, square root, nice, of b squared minus 4 AC all over.
2a.
That's it. So I think one kid had the formula memorized. The rest of you, you've probably seen it before, but it wasn't on the top of your mind. Now it's on the top of your mind. X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. If you want to memorize it a different way, it's totally fine, but it's got 16 parts. Let me prove it to you. 1 part, 2, 3. I know it's kind of cheating. I'll probably be more than 16 for counting the equals. But anyway, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and yeah, 17, but that's kind of cheating because I counted the equals as 2 things. So if the equals is just 1 thing, it'd be 16 things. Do you get 16 things in a row is kind of hard to memorize? It is. That's why they make a dumb little song about it. X equals negative b. It's like Pop Goes Weasel song. Plus or minus square root b squared minus 4 is all over 2a. And then here's how easy it is once you have the formula. You go and replace the b with whatever b is. Okay, that sounds great, server, but how am I not supposed to know what b actually is? B is from here. Whatever's in front of this, that's A. Whatever's in front of this, that's B. And whatever's the last thing, that's C. A, B, C. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. They're in order. A, B, C. Okay. So, x equals negative b. That means negative, what's b? 1. If there's no number here, there's a 1 there. Okay, so there's a 1 right there. So b is 1, so I put a 1 here. And b is also 1 right there. So I just go and pick the b and I replace it with a 1. All over to a. Okay, so I can go down here where the a is and replace the a with also a 1. Where'd you get that 1? From right here. That's a. And so there's a 1 here, and there's also a 1 right there. And the C is the last thing. C is the 3 there. That's the C. And there it is. It's kind of ugly, but that's the answer. Now I just got to simplify it down a little bit. Negative 1's pretty simple already. Plus or minus the square root of, that's pretty simple. This part needs to be simplified for sure. What's 1 squared? It's 1. 1 minus 4 times 3 is 12. What's 1 minus 12? Negative 11. Whoa! I instantly know there's no solution to this one. Why? Because I got a negative square root. Square root of the negative doesn't exist. Double checking to make sure I screwed up. My bad. It was a negative 3. You guys should have stopped me. I know some of you were looking at me sideways, but yeah, that's a negative 3. So it's actually negative 4 times negative 3 is positive 12. 1 plus 12 under the square root means, here's my answer. Negative 1 plus and minus the square root of 1 plus 12, which is 13, all over 2a, which is 2. And it's it. Done. Because it can't be simplified. Nothing to factor out. I know, kind of scary, but there had to be one hard one on here. So imagine it's the ACT test, and they give you this. X squared plus 5x. Let me think. How was this structured before? Let's say equals negative 4. If you wanted to solve that, everybody try it. Hint, you're going to need the quadratic formula. What did I say about these? I said you had to set it equal to 0. I hope you remembered that. So you wanted to add 4 to both sides. So it was x squared plus 5x plus 4 equaled 0. And then if you can factor it, you should, but hint, spoiler alert, this problem type will never factor. So you might as well go right to x equals negative. You're right, it's 1 in this case, but it's b. I'm just going to say the normal formula, and then we'll put in the numbers later. Plus or minus square root of what?
B squared.
Nice. Minus
4ac.
all over.
2a.
That's it. And then I'm going to go put in some things. In this first spot, b was 5. Another b, not surprising, also 5. A, there's 2 of them. I'm going to erase both of them. And those A's turn into 1s. And then the C is positive 4. And there it is. Just got to clean it up a little bit. Negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 minus 16. I'm going to try to do that in my head. This could be dangerous. I think it's 9.
Yeah.
Okay. All over 2. And then this would be really sad if the kid left it that way, because there's something easy you could do.
Square root of 9.
Square root of 9 is actually 3. So then you have negative 5 plus and minus 3 over 2. And then this is a dangerous one because a lot of kids didn't notice that square root thing. And now they probably stop right here, but you shouldn't. Because you can do negative 5 plus 3, which would be negative 2 over 2. 15-minute warning. And you can do negative 5 minus 3 over 2. So then that's actually negative 8 over 2. So this one's negative 1, and this one's negative 4. That is the hardest thing on the first 20. And you got to know the big honking formula, and then you stick the numbers in it, and you simplify it down, and man, that's a lot of work. But those are my 2 answers. And these, as you move up into higher level math, like the class after this one, quadratics are a really big deal. Cool. Did anybody get negative 4 or negative 1? Oh, a couple of you. All right. Okay. Let me just give you one more to simplify. Imagine the problem's like this. You did all the hard work to get it to here. 5 plus and minus the square root of 4 all over 3. Why would that be tragic to leave it that way?
Square root of 4.
Square root of 4 is 2. So it's really 5 plus 2 over 3 and 5 minus 2 over 3. Vivian, can you do one of those? It's a fraction answer.
Well, then you take 5 minus 2 could be 3 over 3.
3 over 3 is one of your answers. Nice. What's that equal to?
1.
Good. Can you do the other one that's a fraction?
And the other one would be 7 over 3.
7 over 3. And we can leave it that way. 7 over 3 and 1 are your 2 answers. Want to know why there's 2 answers? Because the problem had a squared in it. Did you guys ever notice that? That when the problems are squared, there's 2 answers? Take a wild guess. When the problems have a third power, how many answers do you think there are? 3. If you haven't ever caught that pattern before, if a problem just has an x in it, you only get 1 answer. If the problem is x squared, you get 2 answers. If the problem is x to the 12th, there's actually 12 answers. Now it seems cuckoo, but it's true. This is called the fundamental theorem of algebra, and basically it's saying that whatever that power is, that's how many answers there's going to be. Okay, feel smarter? A little bit? Probably you mostly feel tired, but your assignment is one of those little Schoology quizzes. It's got 5 little problems. Go ahead and start that immediately, if not sooner. And that's all I got for you for today.